Hello, Flosstube, and for those celebrating, Merry Christmas. Although it will be after Christmas by the time you're watching this. But it is the evening of December 25th, Christmas Day, and I decided impromptu to film my WIP Parade tonight. So for those of you who maybe are new to my channel because you're just searching up WIP Parades and came across my video, my name is Heather. I am the 20-minute stitcher, and this is my first end of the year WIP Parade. I did a smaller one earlier in the year, shortly after I started my channel. I started my channel in February of 2022. So a little about me if you're new. I live in the Cleveland area of Ohio. I am an Air Force brat, so grew up all over the country, came to Ohio for college, and have stayed. I am a single parent now. I have two children, a 16-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son, and I work full-time and have been cross-stitching since I was a little kid, and that's a little bit about me. So all the cool kids are doing WIP parades, and I want to be cool. So I had been planning to film this a little later in the week, but my kids are with their dad tonight, and it was kind of quiet in the house, and I thought, why not? So hopefully this won't end up being a big mistake. I think I'm organized. I think I'm good to go. I am filming this on my living room floor, as you might be able to tell from the backdrop, but I think it makes a very pretty backdrop. I do own 4 cats as well, so that's why I'm concerned this might be a huge mistake, choosing to film on my living room floor. But we'll find out, shall we? So, as I mentioned, I have been stitching for a long time, and I just started my Flosstube this year. And I am understanding how having a Flosstube can really expand your number of WIPs. Because watching Flosstube, being on Flosstube, you see all the cool things that people are stitching, the awesome patterns that all these amazing designers are putting out. And you know, that new start squirrel, it just gets ya. So I was a little nervous when I sat down to pull all my WIPs together. I was afraid it was going to be some like huge number, which isn't a bad thing. I'm very much a process stitcher and a mood stitcher. But I do sometimes wonder whether my like regular viewers are like, oh, for the love of all things holy, would she just finish something for once? But I have 22 WIPs, which is a lot, but isn't horrible, and something manageable. It's enough, though, that I have decided to do WIP Go for the very first time in 2023, but I will be talking about that in another video. So I'm already rambling a little bit. I've got 22 projects to go through, so let's go through it. I actually did get myself organized enough to go through these in order of oldest to most recent WIP, and I did unzip all of my bags, I think, unless I missed one. So let's just jump right into it. So we will start with what is my oldest WIP, which is the Magic Kingdom Stitch Along from Cunning Cross Stitch, and I'm picking from the wrong pile. So this is, and I lied, I half unzipped this bag. There we go. This was a free stitch along from Cunning Cross Stitch on their website, and this started in January of 2021. And it is, as the name might imply, Magic Kingdom SAL. So I will say I did get myself organized in terms of like oldest to most recent. I didn't iron anything. Ironing is not my favorite thing in the world to do. And most of these were just going to get folded right back up and put back in their bags. So not one of those Flosstubers that's going to take the time to iron everything. So don't think less of me. Anyway. This stitch along was one scene from a Disney animated movie released each month, and the scenes came together to form some sort of mystery pattern. Spoiler alert, it's Cinderella's castle. So this is where I am at currently in this project. I did pick it up a couple of times this year, though not frequently. It is a lot of DMC, and it is a lot of color changes, as I'm sure you can see, like even just the Alice in Wonderland scene. I should have brought my backing board up here with me. But even the Alice in Wonderland, I mean, just look at all those color changes. So like each scene itself is fairly small. I mean, most of them I think are like 80 by 80 or less, probably even less than that. But they take, this Alice in Wonderland scene took flipping forever to stitch because there are just so many color changes. But it's really cool. And, you know, when you step back, the effect is really awesome. I'll put in a picture of the final pattern, and it's pretty amazing, the way it all came together to form Cinderella's castle. So that's on my WIP Go board for 2023. I do want to get it done. I think it's one I'm going to end up having to just sit down and like force myself to finish it because it's not the most enjoyable for me to stitch on. I don't mind color changes, but I need to be like that happy medium, right? Sometimes with monochromatics, I get bored of stitching the same color all the time, but like switch the color too often and I'm just like, this is too much work, right? So anyway, so that's the Magic Kingdom stitch along. And I started that, as I said, in January of 2021. That's just on a mystery linen that I had in the house, and it uses just DMC floss. The next oldest pattern, also Disney related, is the Cats of Disney by Abby Sue Designs. I'll pop a picture up of the finished product of that as well. But it's basically just faces of lots of different cats from Disney movies. And this one, if you've been a longtime follower of my channel, I had some drama with this one because the fabric that I started it on, I discovered there was a hole in the fabric and I thought it was over where my stitching was going to be, and so that it would show up when I like was done with it. So I went to restart this on a different piece of fabric. And then I decided that no, it was fine the way it was before. So then I went back to my original. All that to say, I have gotten nowhere on that one. This one started in September of 2021. It is, I think, 30 cats. I think it's 6 rows of 5 cats. Could be wrong. And clearly I have one done. But it's Tigger. He's my favorite. So yes, this is Cats of Disney by Abby Sue Designs. Woefully far behind on this one as well. Definitely need to get this done. Or, you know, just call it a day with Tigger and have a Tigger ornament for my tree or something. No, I'll finish it because I really like the finished product. But again, Tigger. This is on just a 28 count bone Jobelin that I had in my stash. There is a needle minder that I don't know why it's not on my fabric. I don't know where it is, but there was a Cats of Disney wooden needle minder that Fangirl Fibers made exclusively for that stitch along that I also have as well. And that's just DMC fabric too. All right, moving on. The next one is another one I need to get back to. See, this is the problem with WIP parades. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. So this is Positively Bedeviled by Casey Cross Stitch on Etsy. This is a picture of the model stitch. Some of you may recognize this quote. So this is a Moira Rose quote from Schitt's Creek. I'm positively bedeviled with meetings. And I really need to finish this one because like that is my life at work. Oh my gosh, this one is so wrinkled. I clearly did not fold it up neatly before I put it back in my pattern bag. And this one, I'm really not far from being done. I mean, I just have to finish the word meetings and I just have to finish the wreath of flowers around the outside. So, oh, the lights are showing through. There we go. I'll get my iPad. There we go. That's much better. So this is I'm Positively Bedeviled with Meetings. I am stitching this 2/2 with just the called for DMC. This is just a mystery linen that I had in my stash. I think it's like maybe a casual linen or something like that. And my needle minder, every stitch you make, every skein you take. That is from Mad for Minders on Etsy. Don't know why I have 2 needles on there. I must have been running 2 different color flosses at one point, which I don't usually do. But that is Positively Bedeviled with Meetings. You know what I think I might do? So my my law firm, the law firm I work at, we actually are moving to new offices in the summer of 2023. So maybe my goal will be to have this done for that, and it can be my office warming gift to myself when we move into our new office space. All right. Okay, moving on. The next one, sorry, I keep kind of looking off to the side. I have my Notion app. Thank you, Elizabeth from Frizzy Lizzy Stitches. I want to be Elizabeth when I grow up, except I'm old enough to be her mother. But I love her mind. Apparently works very similar to mine. And if you don't watch Frizzy Lizzy Stitches, first off, what are you doing with your life? Go watch Elizabeth. And her WIP Parade, she also showed her plans and her organization system for 2023. And she showed this Notion app website that she got all set up. She created this amazing template for her cross stitch projects and her WIP Go. And my like type A organizational personality I was watching her demo this, was literally like salivating and going, I need this in my life. So thank you again, Elizabeth, for making your template available for the rest of us to use, because I am using it and I am loving it. And so that's what I'm looking at when you see me looking off to the side. I am looking at my project list where I have sort of all of the information for my projects written out. So, plug for Elizabeth. My next WIP that I started, so now we're into 2022, and I think this is maybe I don't know what the right word is. I think it just is. Let's just take that tone. It just is. I was a little surprised. So of my 22 WIPs, how many have I done? 3? 3 were started in 2021. All of the rest are projects that I started in 2022. But I've finished quite a few as well, because anything that I started prior to May of 2022, I've already finished. It's done. It's not in this WIP Parade. So my first 2022 WIP, I actually started on May 2nd, and it is the Tiny Modernist When Witches Go Riding. So this was a stitch along that they did a while ago. Oh shoot, it's still in the plastic. Let's see if I can avoid a glare. Let's see if I can hold it right side up too. There we go. So this is the final piece when all of the pieces were released. I forget when this came out. Doesn't say on here, does it? Oh well, doesn't matter. When Witches Go Riding by Tiny Modernist. I started this on May 2nd of 2022. Technically, I started it in like the middle of April, because I decided, because of how far apart so many of the elements are in this pattern, I decided that I was going to try gridding for the first time. And the only time, because it took me like 3 weeks to grid this thing and then get it on my scroll frame. And I have not spent a whole lot of time stitching on this. But the gridding definitely does make it easier, especially when, like in a pattern like this, things are far apart from each other. But I despise the gridding process. I do not see myself being someone who will grid on the regular. So this is, again, a mystery linen that I had in my stash. I'm using all the called for flosses, which most are, I think, Classic Colorworks, and some DMC as well. I think 310 and B5200, and some Classic Colorworks in there as well. So don't have a lot done, but it's super fun. Sorry, cats were acting like they were going to misbehave. And I have my fun TARDIS needle minder on here from Mad for Minders. I don't know why it's half a continent away, but there it is. So that is When Witches Go Riding by Tiny Modernist. My next WIP was in honor of Mental Health Month. I started this on May 8th of 2022. Sorry, all of my needle minders are like sticking to each other in my project bags. This one, well, let me see. I can maybe show the pattern. Sorry, it's one out of a magazine. So like the pattern and the model picture are both all on the same page. So I'm trying not to show the pattern itself. So this is by Stitchrovia. Grow Through What You Go Through. So this was Candy the 614 Stitcher. I didn't write down what the hashtag is, but it's basically she chooses sort of a mental health or self-care themed pattern each May for Mental Health Awareness Month. And I decided to join in with her this month, and I chose this pattern to stitch. And I did a floss conversion because I didn't have some of the colors that the pattern called for. But it's all DMC flosses except for one of the greens, which is a classic Colorworks. And this is where I left off. I pretty much only stitched on this in May, maybe a couple days in June. So I got the word grow and through and a good chunk of the banner. And the rest will probably stitch up fairly quickly. I don't know if I'll pick this up again before this coming May, but I think I will try and finish it this May for Mental Health Awareness Month in May of 2023. And my needle minder is It's Too Peoply Outside, which I believe I got from Needle Attractions on Facebook. And this is, again, that bone Jobelin. I had a really large cut of it in my stash, so I'm using it for a few different things. I apologize if you hear hissing in a minute. My hissy cat is not enjoying the attention that another cat is giving her. Like, he's kind of stalking her a little bit, and Issa don't stand for that. She's a hisser. All right, moving on. I thought we were into June. We're not. One more May start. So on May 20th, I started Haunted Fur by Kit and Bixby. If you are a frequent watcher of my channel, you know that I love Halloween and autumn patterns. So I have a lot of them. So this is Haunted Fur by Kit and Bixby. I had originally thought that maybe I would try and rechart these. So I own 4 cats, as I mentioned before, and there are 4 cats on this pattern. So I had originally thought that I would try and rechart to like kind of have each of these cats look like my cats. And then I decided not to. I don't know why I decided not to, but I did. I am stitching this on a hand-dyed 16 count Aida that was a gift from Nessa in my cross-stitch chat. Not my cross-stitch chat, but a cross-stitch chat that I am part of. It was part of a Halloween like card and gift exchange that we did in 2021. And it's gorgeous. I love it. And this is where I am at on Haunted Fur. So I have 1 cat, the paws of another cat, some pumpkins, the elevator butt of a 3rd cat, and the bottom part of the word haunted. The needle minder is a wooden Dalek Starbucks needle minder from Mad for Minders. And this is where I am on Haunted Fur. Now I think we finally get into June. My first new start in June was the Modern Folk Embroidery Move Forward in Love Pride Stitch Along, which is so gorgeous, and I've been loving watching other people stitch it too. He offered 2 ways to do it, a colorway and a monochromatic. I chose the color version just because I absolutely loved the colors and wanted to have the Progress Pride flag in there as well, and it's not in the monochromatic version, understandably, because it's monochromatic. Sorry, as soon as I said that out loud, I was like, duh. Anyway, so this is Move Forward in Love by Modern Folk Embroidery. And I have some good progress on this before I kind of put it away towards the end of the summer. I am stitching this on a 32 count Lugana from Bestitch Me in the color Frost. And I have almost a whole page done. So I basically was stitching this kind of page by page, which is why you see this sort of straight line. Even though I'm using my digital, even though I'm using the digital pattern, for me, it's just easier to go page by page still. I'm loving the colors. I'm loving the way they look on this blue. The needle minder is from Mad for Minders, and I'm using all the called for DMC. And this is so beautiful. I really want to finish this in 2023. There's still a lot left though, but it's so beautiful and so nice, so fun to stitch. So that is Move Forward in Love. And again, I started that on June 2nd of 2022. Sorry, I'm trying not to make a ton of noise, but the paper won't go back in the bag. And I guess a quick note on my project bag. So I have kind of a mix of project bags, but a lot of the most recent ones have been these bags, which are actually from Simon Says Stamp Company. So my mom does a lot of paper crafting, stamping, card making, and things like that. And she orders a lot of things from Simon Says Stamps, and they send, I don't know if they're like subscription kits or what, but they come in these bags that my mom doesn't really have a use for. She doesn't really travel with her card making at all. So she just holds on to them. And then every once in a while, when I run out of project bags, because I've started too many new projects, I'm like, hey, Mom, can I have some project bags? And they're actually really great because they're really durable material. The zipper is a super high quality. So if you enjoy paper crafting, check out Simon Says Stamps, and then you can use their bags for your cross-stitch projects. All right. And then my next WIP is sort of this odd project. Not odd project, but something I really need to get done. I could have finished it forever ago, but I got stuck because I need to do some charting. So the project is Friendship Basket, which was designed by Hello from Liz Matthews, and she designed it and released it shortly before StitchCon in summer of 2022. But it really was designed, I think, for sort of any cross-stitch retreat that you might be going on to. And the idea was she charted a border and a basket. And the idea is that then people you meet at retreats, you ask them to stitch flowers and they fill in your basket with the flowers. I thought that was a really neat idea. StitchCon was my very first cross-stitch retreat that I was ever going to attend. Step away from the stitching cat. And so I thought this would be a great thing to do. I'm going to meet so many people, which I did. But I also spent most of my time just at my table with the people that I was stitching to. And quite frankly, was so busy stitching my other projects, I kind of forgot about this. So all that to say, here is where I am at with this project. So it's kind of funny because it's not exactly a WIP, but it is a WIP. So I didn't get a whole lot of people to stitch on this, mostly just the people at my table and a few other people. And why this is still a WIP is because what I decided I wanted to do was, so if you attended StitchCon, you know we got several free charts. And one of them was a couple different variations on the StitchCon logo that we could stitch. My hope was that the stars would align and the StitchCon logo, one of the two, would fit inside the border of this frame. It does not. So I have to either stitch it over one, which this is an even weave, so I could do that, or like kind of fiddle with the chart a little bit to make it fit. And I just haven't sat down to do that yet. But that's the only reason this is still a WIP, is I need to figure out how I'm going to put like the StitchCon 2022 in here, and then probably have to frog some of these stitches here, what took the border a little too high, and then stitch across the top border, finish this side border, and then it's done. And then I'll probably turn it into like a little pillow, or maybe just a small little like 4x6 frame or something. It's not very large. So I just need to sit down and get this done. There's not a whole lot, well, there probably is a lot of work left in it in terms of figuring out how to chart the StitchCon, but anyway, so that's Friendship Basket. It was on a 28 count Joblin in the color Clay. The border is Fiberlicious Yummy Fiber Silk in the color Spooktacular. And then I stitched the basket using Classic Colorworks Red Currant. And the other thing that was really fun about this was most people kind of just took whatever was on their needle at the moment and stitched with that. So the other thing I have to find, I thought I put in my project bag the piece of paper where I wrote down who stitched what on this, but it's not in here. So I think I have to find my bullet journal from the summer. I'm pretty sure it's written in there. But so I know like all of the folks from my cross stitch chat, we were all seated at a table together. They all stitched on here. I'm pretty sure Elizabeth from Frizzy Lizzy Stitches stitched one on here as well. So I just have to finish that. But that's a pretty cool piece and a nice memory piece for me for my very first cross stitch retreat, even though I didn't get as many people to stitch on it as I thought I would. Tattooed Reading Owl is on there too, I know. I just got to get my stuff together and get it done so that I can get that out, because it is a really nice memory piece. And like I said, my plan was to frame it, and I was going to put like a sticker or something on the back of the frame with sort of a key, right? The butterfly was Nessa, this and that. So anyway, that's Friendship Basket. I'm rambling about it, but it was a cool pattern and I like it. So Moving on. Now we're into July, and on July 3rd, I started a 4th of July piece, the Primrose Cottage Stitches Firework Kisses pattern that I bought at StitchCon. And I stitched on this for a couple of days in July, and then I stitched on this on the 4th day of the month in August, September, and October. And then it all just sort of fell apart after that. So I'm almost done with this. Really probably 1 or 2 more stitching sessions, and it will be done. So this is being stitched on a 32 count Lugana in the color Cinnamon from Bestitch Me. I'm using all the called for DMC, and I am stitching 2 strands of floss over 2. So yeah, I mean, I really only have the rest of the word kisses, the word firework, and there's like 5 stars up at the top, and then it's done. Like, this is just silly that I haven't sat down and finished this yet. But it's the dead of winter, and it's like 14 degrees outside, so 4th of July stitches are not really top on my mind. And this is in my Dapper Foxes bag from Black Cat Cross Stitchery, who is amazing. Love their bags. I got this at StitchCon as well. I mean, come on. Seriously, look at these foxes. They're so adorable. Next WIP is... next WIP, you guys. You guys will recognize this one. You guys will know this one. I have been blamed, Bridget, I'm looking at you, for roping other people into this pattern by showing it on my channel. This is Lola Crow Cross Stitch Studio Haunted Library. I'll pop a picture of the finished. This also was a mystery stitch along, so I'll pop a picture of the finished pattern up on the screen. I am nowhere near finished, but I mean, this pattern, I feel like, broke Flosstube this summer. Everyone and their second cousin was doing this pattern, it seemed like, which was super awesome because it was really amazing to see like all the different variations that some people were doing, all the different colors of fabric that people were doing it on. My flosses have become a big giant mess. But these are all of the flosses. I mean, they're just such an awesome combination of colors. I know there were people who were doing the back stitch and the glow around the ghosts in like glow in the dark floss. I mean, people just got, I mean, the pattern was wickedly witty and creative to begin with. And then the extra creativity that people put on top of it just blew me away. I am stitching this on a 32 count Lugana from Bestitch Me. You'll hear that a lot. I am part of her Fabric of the Month club, and I get a 32 count Lugana every month. So you'll hear a 32 count Lugana from Bestitch Me a lot tonight. And this is where I am. It's a very sad little start. But I kind of decided not to follow the designer's advice of stitching just the 310 to start if we didn't think we'd be able to finish the staircase, which was the prologue, essentially the border, before the stitch along really got underway. I was like, no, it's fine. I'll stitch the whole thing. Yeah. But this is so much fun to stitch. It's so gorgeous. It's so clever. There are so many little fun, clever things just hidden throughout the pattern. I just love it. So this is a 32 count Lugana from Bestitch Me in the color It's a Mystery. I'm using all the called for DMC. My needle minder is little 310 from Keepsakes Cross Stitch in the founders, creators, putters, honors of StitchCon. That's their shop cat. So that is Haunted Library. Love that pattern so much. And I started that on July 23rd. The next one that I started, my Christmas in July start, and also my Christmas Eve stitch, so I was stitching on this yesterday, is Little House Needleworks Jingle All the Way. This pattern's so pretty. And I am discovering that house, I don't know why I'm surprised by it. I mean, the house looks big on the pattern, but for whatever reason, I was like, oh, it's a cute little house. No, it's not a little house. It's a really big house. It's a flippin' big house. So I pretty much only stitched on this on July 25th, the day I started it, and then yesterday on Christmas Eve. So I don't have a whole lot of progress on it. In fact, on July 25th, oh, that's not true. I did stitch on this more than just July 25th. I stitched on July 25th and then like 1 or 2 days more to finish this tree. And then yesterday for Christmas Eve, I sat down and worked on the house. So I kind of got most of the first row done, the little trees, the bottom row of windows, and I started kind of outlining the rest of the windows. Basically, I'm trying to get the house to the point where I can just fill in with the white for the rest of it. But it's a really big house. It's like really big. So this is a 28 casual linen in the color Heartland from Picture This Plus. I'm using all the called for floss. The needle minder is a very appropriate needle minder. This is also from Needle Attractions on Facebook. Pretty much all of my needle minders are from either them or Mad for Minders on Etsy. Yeah, so that is Jingle All the Way from Little House Needleworks. I put this on my WIP Go board, and it actually was one of the numbers that was called for January, so I will be continuing to work on that in January. Next pattern is Hive Rules by Primrose Cottage Stitches. I am doing this as a model stitch for Brandy at Bestitch Me. She opened a brick and mortar shop this summer and reached out to people in her fabric clubs interested in stitching a model stitch for her. So I volunteered to stitch Hive Rules. I really have got to pick up the pace on this one a bit. This is being stitched on a 40 count even weave in the color Honey, obviously dyed by Bestitch Me by Brandy. And this is where I am at so far. And like I said, got to pick up the pace. Brandy's being super generous. She basically was like, if I could have it back within the next year, super generous. I want to have it back to her sooner than that. So this is essentially going to be my focus piece, basically until it's finished. In between my WIP Go draws and pulls, I'm going to work on this so I can get it done. I will say this 40 count even weave is a dream to stitch on. It's absolutely beautiful, and this pattern is super fun. So this is where I am at with Hive Rules. And I am using all the called for DMC since this is a model stitch, not making any changes there. And my little bee needle minder was a gift from StitchCon. One of the folks there, it was what they had made to give away. I don't recall who it was, I'm sorry, but it's a lovely little needle minder and it's perfect for that project. So that is Hive Rules by Primrose Cottage Stitches. Sorry, I'm trying not to make a ton of noise, but my... and this project bag is just one from Amazon. I love these. I try to minimize what I buy from Amazon, truth be told, but I do like these project bags. They're very affordable. They hold, as you can see, a full 8.5 by 11 pattern book, lots of fabric. They're great little bags. So I do like those. If I can find the link, I can't find them. I'll go look up my orders. I can put the link in the description below, but that's a very nice one. I like those bags. All right, my next WIP. I have to do a little aside here to Bridget, the museum stitcher. So this next WIP is one that Bridget and I started together as a stitch along, with the hashtag Spooky Quaker SAL. This is Lila Studios Halloween Quaker. I'll pop a picture up because I only have the digital pattern. I'll pop a picture up on the screen. And I'm saying I have to do an aside because, Bridget already filmed and released her WIP Parade. Bridget's the museum stitcher. Again, if you are not watching her channel, what are you doing with your life? Go watch her right now. No, not right now. Finish my video and then go watch her. She's amazing. But she and I did this as a start along. We started it on September 3rd with a really fun live Zoom where several other people who are stitching it, a couple of people who were stitching something else but just joined us for the fun anyway. It was such a fun evening. But I had to laugh when I was watching Bridget's WIP Parade because when she got to this piece, she was so funny because she says, I only stitched on it this night. I'm like the most horrible stitch along partner ever. And I just had to laugh because Bridget, honey, I only stitched on it 1 or 2 more days after that night. This is as far as I've gotten. I think you have more progress on yours than I have on mine. So you're a great stitch along partner. It was super fun to start this with you. We definitely need to do another Zoom night. But so don't sweat it. No big deal. I am stitching this as called for on the model. So I'm stitching this on a 40 count Murky by Picture This Plus. I'm using 1 strand of floss over 2. I started in the lower right corner because it had some smaller motifs. So I felt like I would feel more accomplished with what I got done. And like I said, I really have only stitched on this maybe 4 times. So there's a lot left to do. The needle minder is very apropos for me. It is from Needle Attractions on Facebook, and it says, Once upon a time, there was a girl who really loved cats. It was me. The end. Most of the time, I love cats. I have 4 cats, all with very big, distinct personalities. So they can be exhausting sometimes. But I do love cats. So that is Halloween Quaker by Lila's Studio. Started on September 3rd. I'm using all the called for floss on the called for fabric. Then on my birthday start, September 16th, was Spring Dragon by Ingleside Imaginarium. So I love dragons. I was born in the year of the dragon, so I decided to start this pattern on my birthday to commemorate that. This was part of a mystery box from Needle and Note, and it is on a 28 count linen from Picture This Plus in the color Lime. The needle minder is, sorry, I literally don't even know like which way is up on this pattern. This way is up. Because I don't have a whole lot of progress on it. I stitched on it on my birthday and maybe 1 or 2 other days. So this is up. I have very sad, pathetic progress on this pattern. So that is all I have done. You can't even tell it's a dragon. The needle minder is a little enamel Calvin from Calvin & Hobbes from Needle Attractions. This was a kit, so I'm using all of the floss that came in the kit, which I believe is all DMC. And that is Spring Dragon from Ingleside Imaginarium. And this is in a Just Crossing Stitches project bag. Little cats and books, 2 of my favorite things. So, very well made bag. So if you're in the market for some fabric vinyl fronted project bags, Black Cat Cross Stitchery, Just Crossing Stitches, all are wonderful things. All right, folks, we're done with the first box. So on to the next. The next is a mystery stitch along that sorry, I should have put a pillow on the floor or something. It's like sitting on my hard floor was not the smartest thing. Told you this was impromptu. Anyway, my next WIP is something that I intended to have done for my daughter's birthday, and I didn't. So I'm just going to get it done at some point and give it to her. This was a Haunted Mansion mystery box from Abby Sue Designs. And the Haunted Mansion is my daughter's favorite ride at Walt Disney World. She has a ghost host hat. She has a Haunted Mansion jean jacket. She has a Haunted Mansion t-shirt. She loves the Haunted Mansion. It's her favorite ride. So when I saw that Abby Sue Designs was doing a Haunted Mansion stitch along, I was like, oh, I got to get in on it. So it came in a kit. So it's a 14 count Aida. I think it's 14, maybe 16. It's a dyed Aida cloth. It's very pretty dye, kind of smoky gray, misty gray. And it came with just the DMC flosses to get it done. So I have the border done, and then the pattern itself, I don't know if I have a picture of the finished product, but it's basically the 3 ghost toasts, their faces. And I clearly didn't get very far. I did get the border done. I was very proud of myself for that. But got to get cracking on this again. So yeah, this is just a dyed Aida. The needle minder says, "Welcome, foolish mortals." And on the back, it says "To the Haunted Mansion," and that's by Fangirl Fibers on Etsy. It was an exclusive to go along with the stitch along. I'll tell you, I don't usually stitch on Aida, but sometimes it's really nice, right? It's just easy to stitch on. You don't have to think about it much. So, and a pattern like that too, with a lot of block stitching, like that would be a good one to take in the car. I don't stitch in the car because I'm driving, but while I'm traveling, like if someone else is doing the driving or flying. I'm rambling now. Moving on. Next WIP. So I totally hopped on board the cross stitch or X stitch the rainbow. If you're not familiar with them, they're a hashtag on Instagram, and it's a sort of a conglomerate of designers who, I'm getting them confused. Market Expo, whichever one's in August, got together and they all designed a pattern on a theme using the same 4 floss colors, or they didn't have to use all 4, but there was a palette of 4 floss colors. The cross stitch the rainbow in August, the theme was autumn garden. And they worked with cottage garden threads. So they designed and dyed 4 different colors of floss. that these designers used to create a 60 by 60 or smaller chart on this theme of autumn garden. There were so many beautiful patterns. As I mentioned earlier, Halloween and autumn, like those are my favorite things to stitch. I kind of lost my mind a little bit. I bought like 6 or 7 of the patterns. But here are the threads. Again, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, you've seen these. They're beautiful colors. And the first chart in the series that I am stitching is Sweet Wing Studios Happy Fall, Y'all. Love it. I love it so much. I am stitching this on a 32 count Lugana from Bestitch Me in the color Sand Dollar. And I'm almost done. But look at that. I mean, just look at the way those flosses variegate. I mean, it's just stunning. I love this pattern so much and these flosses. They're so soft and they're so fun to stitch with and easy to stitch with. So that is, I'm using the called for floss. I'm using 2 strands over 2. And yeah, so that's that one. Next on the list, this is when my my autumn new start squirrel went crazy. But it had some special reasons for, right? I had my birthday stitch. I had the stitch for my daughter, the Haunted Mansion. This one also was a sentimental stitch. So again, if you've watched my channel before, you know that I am a breast cancer survivor. And October 9th of 2022 was the 5-year anniversary of my bell ringing day, which if you're not familiar, I believe pretty much everywhere, but certainly in our area, the infusion centers, the chemo treatment centers, it's a tradition. When you finish your last chemo treatment or your last infusion, usually there's a wall, or in my center, it was a big canvas, painted canvas that you would sign, and then you would ring a bell. And all of, anyone who's available, right? The infusion nurses, the doctors, whoever, they all come out, they clap, they cheer. It's just a big celebration of this big accomplishment, because even though all you do while you're getting treated is sit there, it's a lot. So in honor of the 5th anniversary of my bell ring day, I started Hope Angel by Hindsight. I don't know why I can't pronounce their name. I started Hope Angel. I pretty much only stitched on it on this day, on October 9th. So again, this is one with a puny, tiny, dinky little start. But I'm stitching this on an Aida in just light rose. It's going to stitch up really quickly. I don't know when I'll pick it up again. But I definitely want to stitch this, have it stitched, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I might keep it. I might donate it to my doctor's, my oncologist's office, if they accept things like that. I don't know. But so it doesn't look like much yet, but it'll be that Hope Angel when it's done. And my needle minder is an adorable little hedgehog needle minder that I picked up at StitchCon. I think I purchased that one. I just can't remember from whom, who the maker of it was. But and I'm using all the called for DMC for this pattern. And obviously, since it's Aida, I'm stitching 2 strands over 1 Aida block. All right, folks, we're in the home stretch. Woohoo! Thank you for sticking with me for this long. All right, then I had another new start on October 31st, Halloween start, and this is Nevermore by Lila Studio. I'll pop a picture up because I only have the digital pattern. And this is another one, if you've watched the Museum Stitchers WIP Parade, she actually was talking about perhaps gifting her Nevermore because she's just not enjoying stitching on it anymore. And I was like, oh man, too bad I already started mine. I totally jump on that because you already have a fair amount of it done. But I started mine on October 31st. I love Poe. I love The Raven. It's one of my favorite works by him. So, and I had this pattern in mind for a long time. And in part, seeing Bridgen's work on hers was like, oh, that's such a cool pattern. Like, I need to get it. Sorry, I just lost the back to my needle minder. Okay, it'll turn up. Okay. Awesome. Way to go, Heather. Okay. So I didn't make very much progress. Again, I pretty much stitched on this on Halloween and then it went away for the rest of the year. So this is the bottom left corner. It's just a start on the border. But I'm trying something new with this one. So this is a 25 count Lugana from Forbidden Fiber Company in the color Winter Sparrow. And I am using the Forbidden Fiber Company floss conversion. So rather than the called for flosses in the pattern, I am using Forbidden Fiber Company's flosses, which they're so soft and beautiful. This is my first time using their flosses, and I really, really like them. So this is the floss. And seriously, where did the back of my needle minder go? If I don't find it, a cat will, and then I'll find it. So that is, and I'm stitching, like I said, 1/1. So it'll be, because it's a big pattern. So this will help make it be a little bit smaller. And my needle minder is Happy Halloween from Needle Attractions. And I'll have to find the back to it. So let's set that aside somewhere. That's really weird. I don't know where it went. Okay. Anyway, moving on. You don't need to watch me like search for the back to my needle minder, but you know what I'm going to be doing as soon as I hit stop on this recording. Okay. And then because we were starting to move into the fall, and I have lots and lots of Halloween, and some autumn pieces, but no real Thanksgiving pieces, I decided to start on November 1st. This pattern here from Lizzie Kate. I've had this pattern book for ages, but this one is the one I'm starting, in All Things Give Thanks, or I started. And I am stitching this on a 28 count Jobelin in the color Time. I got this from my local needlework shop, which is Just Cross Stitch in Strongsville, Ohio. I don't know who the designer or who the dyer is, but this is where I got to before I put it away for Christmas stitching. So I got the center block almost all done except for the border. And so all that's left are the blocks on either side. So the one to the right of the turkey is leaves falling. The one to the left is a pumpkin. And then underneath it says, "In all things, give thanks." And I'm just using the called for DMC on this one as well. My next WIP is from Thread Milk Designs. And I started it on November 26th. 2022, which was the Saturday after Thanksgiving, also known in these parts as the day of the game, which is why I decided to choose my Ohio Statehood Splendor pattern to stitch during the Ohio State-Michigan game, which did not go our way this year, unfortunately, but we still made the playoffs, so yay! Which actually is my intention. I plan to pick this back up again on New Year's Eve to stitch during the playoff game against Georgia. And hopefully, although we are playing the #1 team, but hopefully we will have a better result than we had against Michigan this fall. But I am stitching this on 32 count Lugana and Sand Dollar from Bestitch Me. And I chose Weeks Dye Works Turkish Red because if you know Ohio State at all, scarlet and gray are our colors, and so I wanted to pick sort of a scarlety, bright red gray. Though I am stitching this just one strand of floss over the two, I kind of liked the look. I felt like it gave it a little bit more of a sort of a simpler, primitive look. I kind of didn't want it to be super plush and full. It's a simple pattern. It's a primitive style pattern, and so I liked kind of the primitive look of the one strand over two. So this will come out again on New Year's Eve to stitch during the playoff game. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be a tough one. So that is in my Yellowstone bag from Forbidden Fiber Company. Sorry, can you tell? I'm trying to find this magnet again. All right, I think we have just two left. Next to last WIP. So also Thanksgiving weekend, I decided to start another pattern that I have had for quite a while. It was a model in my LNS, and it was beautiful. And so I went there for something else, and of course came out with this as well. But this is Let's Rejoice by Imaginating Ink, that I'd never heard of before, even though they're from Ohio. It's designed by Ursula Michaels, and I just really loved just how all of those backstitched words came together to form that dove. And I don't know, it just spoke to me. It was really pretty. So I started that on November 27th, and I stitched on this some today as well. This was my Christmas Day stitch. And I am stitching this on a 28 count white opalescent Lugana. So let me get my iPad again to put behind it. And this is where I am at as of this afternoon. So I actually enjoy backstitching. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. So this is actually pretty fun for me to stitch. I'm really enjoying it. Though it will probably get put away for a little while now. I might stitch on it a little bit more tonight before I go to bed. But it'll probably get put away for a while now in favor of Hive Rules and my WIP Go pieces until we get a little closer to next Christmas. And my last new start thus far for 2022 is I went this past weekend. I met one of my dear friends who lives in Iowa. She and I met kind of at a midway point in Ottawa, Illinois, and to kind of commemorate, we hadn't seen each other in person in, gosh, 3 years. So, 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. And so to commemorate that, I decided to start Here Be Dragons by Modern Folk Embroidery. This piece intimidates the living daylights out of me, but I love dragons, as I've mentioned before. And Evertote, who I keep hearing people raving about, the Leo and Roxy flosses. Evertote had their own kit for this, and so I decided, what better excuse? It's a dragon pattern, which I love, and it'll let me try Leo and Roxy floss and fabrics for the first time. So this is Here Be Dragons by Modern Folk Embroidery, and this is on a 36 count linen in the color Catnap, dyed by Evertote, Leo and Roxy. You can see it's a very sad, pathetic, pitiful little start. We spent most of our time talking and shopping and not a whole lot of time stitching. And when we were stitching, it was late at night. I didn't think ahead, right? I was tired and then trying to stitch on a 36 count linen. Anyway, so I kind of just started the border, but it's beautiful. So again, the linen is a 36 count in the color Catnap. The floss is Leo and Roxy Plum Shadow, and the needle minder, very appropriate for this pattern, from Needle Attractions. It says, easily distracted by dragons and books, which is also true for me, and cats. And that is being stored in a project bag that was made by Megan, the Seattle Stitcher. She was stitching some bags for herself, had some extra fabric, and I snapped this one up because it's books, and it's awesome. And now I have a little bit of Megan here in my house. And she's awesome. So hooray, win-win all around. All right, that is my WIP Parade. I would talk about what's coming next, but I'm doing a YouTube Live tomorrow, so I'll just be repeating stuff that will already be out there on the internet by the time I upload this. So I hope that you enjoyed this WIP Parade. I came in at under an hour, which is pretty awesome. And I have lots of really cool projects. Getting all these out has made me excited to stitch on some more of these again. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, you have perhaps watched either my YouTube Live or the replay of it, where I will be talking about my WIP Go board and my New Year's Eve 12x12 plans. So if you are new to my channel and made it this far, thank you so much. I hope that you will subscribe, like this video, and come back for more in the new year. I love doing this. As I mentioned before, I've only been doing this for, just since February of 2022. I've been stitching for a long time, but my Flosstube channel was something that I just started this year. And the community, it's just been so wonderful. I've met so many people who I like to call my friends, even though I've never met any of you, but I really look forward to hopefully meeting a great many of you in 2023. I hope you enjoyed the WIP Parade. I hope you will come back for more in the new year. And I need to go see what my cat is doing in the other room. There are strange sounds coming from the other room. So I guess it's a good thing that I'm done. And for those of you celebrating holidays this time of year, I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful holiday with the people that you love most in the world. Hug each other. Take care of each other. Sorry, yeah, she definitely has something she's not supposed to have. Okay, and I will see you all soon. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.